There we go. We are recording. Okay. Welcome to our day 2 of the sales fix training. Today is really a really juicy one because we're getting into the more creative part about marketing. Yesterday was a little like, it's necessary, but it's not as fun. So today's going to be a little more fun. So quick recap, what we went through yesterday was about choosing an offer and setting your business goal. That is an important piece I want us all to understand, is that marketing is a business asset. It is a tool we get to use when we are clear on how we're developing our business. We get to apply it to a specific goal. And that's what I wanted you to understand yesterday. We also talked about deciding on a timeline, how long you want to run a sales campaign for. It's not just a one and done type of thing. We want to look at it in terms of a project. And today, now that we've done that prepare work, we're going to talk about how do we make people want the offer. And I don't mean in a like pushy, persuasive bro vibe way. I mean in the work of marketing, it exists because just building it is not enough. Marketing is helping the right people connect to our product or service in the right way, which is what we're going to get into today. So our little 3 Ps that we're working through is prepare. We went through that yesterday. Today we're going to be talking about the second P, which is packaging. And tomorrow we're going to get into promotion. So for today's focus, first we're going to go through creating audience fit. This is a very important piece that this is the first step of really putting on your CMO hat, your Chief Marketing Officer hat. This is that 1 foot in the market, like I talk about, where you have 1 foot in your business and 1 in your market. Audience fit is really, really about sinking into your audience. Then we're going to talk about understanding the layers of value through the benefits ladder. Benefits ladder is an amazing tool to have in your back pocket. Anyone who's done brand with me, we've talked about the benefits ladder. And I've always said you can also do this for your products or services, which is what we're going to get into today. And then I'm going to talk about framing your packaging to focus on the result, not the bridge. Another thing I talk about a lot is that one of the first mistakes we make is we're trying to sell the bridge when nobody wants to buy the bridge. No one is interested in what we have to offer. They're interested in the result that happens for them when they purchase what we have to offer. And I'm going to talk really at depth around how we do that. I also have some examples today so we can start to see this in action because I know that helps quite a bit. Universal truth in marketing. People don't buy what it is, they buy what it does. People don't buy what we do, they buy why we do it. This is a really quick synopsis of almost consumer psychology. Purchasing behaviors follow very like pathways we can really break apart and we can really understand. But at the end of the day, it is always about a deeper motivation than just seeing a product or service in front of us, especially because when you are a independent business, you are almost always going to be operating at a higher price point than other options just because we will not make our profit through scale. We will be making our profit through offers that have enough of a profit margin that we can continue to supply our business with the revenue it needs. So people who are going to purchase from us are always going to be purchasing from a deeper reason than just, okay, give me the features, let me decide in a logical fashion. It's not the name of business that we're in, which is why packaging is it's a really powerful tool for increasing sales because packaging is how we show people the deeper value of our product or service. So if you've ever put out an offer and it just feels like it's not landing, one of the really interesting pieces is that sometimes it's not the price. Quite often, we don't recognize how fluid pricing is, especially once you apply marketing. The packaging can make all the difference. You can put the exact same product or service out there at a low price point and you can get crickets. You repackage it up, you increase the price point, you can actually sell it more because it's all very fluid and packaging is a really, really strong tool, even more so than pricing for us. So packaging is absolutely crucial, especially if you're selling anything high ticket. And it's crucial if you need to sell anything that's a decent profit margin, which is going to be all of us because we're not going to be fighting for the lowest price point. We just don't have the economy of scale to do that. When I work with people and everyone who goes to marketing at the end of the day, it's because they need sales. That's marketing and sales. That's the whole point of it. It's we get a little more involved, we can talk brand, but at the end of the day, everything is to feed into sales. And the common frustrations that I hear and I've experienced myself is stuff around they say they're interested, but they don't buy. We talked about how sales systems and sales campaigns turns interest into income. This is a way we address this, is that people are like, I love this idea, or this sounds like such a good thing. Yes, but then they don't convert in. It helps to address this. I know it's valuable. I just can't explain it. That's a piece where, as the business owner, we can't read the label from inside the jar. And describing the value of our product or service can be really difficult because to us, it seems like a default. Like, well, yeah, people will get that, but people don't get that. And as a business owner, it is our job to create the marketing that helps people understand it. And it's like they just don't get it. That's another piece where the packaging is not communicating to people what it is that they should get. So this is a big part of what we're going to go into today. And quite often, it's not even a problem with the product or the pricing. It can also be a matter of the packaging. So at the beginning stages, we are always validating. We want to take feedback. We want to take adjustments, and that's gold. We always want to feed it back into what we're doing. But the reality of being an independent business owner is most of us have chosen something we love to do, or something we love to make, or we want to sell. And we're not really looking to differentiate from that. Our product or our service is our product or our service. So what we can then do is change the packaging so that we can create sales flow for that product or service. Because if we don't position or package clearly, what happens is even people who could be a good fit, they will start to hesitate, they'll overthink, and then they won't take action. Because anytime there is a lack of clarity or a lack of resonance for people when they're trying to make a purchasing decision, that creates friction. And friction creates hesitation, it creates overthinking, and then they don't take action. So packaging is how we reduce all of that so the pipeline can flow smoother. It's one of the elements. The other element is a sales campaign and a sales funnel. So packaging, we're going to get into it now. We have 3 core layers. I always work in 3s. Our first piece we're going to talk about is our audience fit. We're going to talk how do we get to know the audience, what do we want to understand about them. Then we're going to talk about the benefits ladder and how we outline the different layers of value that we're actually offering with the product or service. And then we're going to talk about offer framing, which is how we make sure we're not trying to sell the bridge. We are selling the results of using the bridge, purchasing the bridge. Okay. Audience fit. This is about aligning your offer with what your ideal customer is thinking, feeling, and needing right now, so it resonates immediately. This is why running campaigns for season or specific time of the year is so strong, because people's needs and desires are going to change. Consumers will be in different parts of their lifestyle depending. Summer is a different experience than December. I'm sorry, my internet has been the most obnoxious thing ever. Okay. I'm going to have to just keep going with it. If there's anything that I blanked out on at the end, make a note and I can clarify. Sorry about that. Me and Kojiko are going to get in a fist fight one of these days. Okay. When we talk about audience fit, it's us really understanding where our audience is in general. And some of this is, it takes time to get to know our audience, but it's also breaking it down. So if we want to run a campaign, and this is why campaigns are so much stronger than just trying to sell all the time, you can take a sense of where is your industry during the time period you're going to run a campaign. What are they facing? What's coming up for them? What is going to make your packaging feel like what you're offering them is very applicable to where they are in the moment? That's the idea around audience fit. It works both seasonally, especially for consumers. We tend to work in seasonal cycles, and it works for B2B because every industry has its cycles. It has its things that it gets into during certain times of the year, and then it switches depending on other months. So when we're trying to develop audience fit, this is about, it'll depend on what level of business, what stage of business you're in. At the beginning, you're going to go off of kind of like gut instincts. any conversations you've had, any kind of unconscious data you've collected, that can actually be a really solid foundation to start with. What you want to know is that audience fit and audience insight is something that will deepen and develop as you build your business. So the more you're investing in understanding your audience, and you collect this information and you test it and refine it, this actually becomes a really huge asset to your market position later down the road from your development in your business. So when you've been in business 10 years and you've been accumulating audience insight as you go, you end up with an asset that newcomers into the market just don't have. So this is something to continuously invest in. Always get feedback, always listen, always try to understand your audience because it becomes the strongest foundation for your products and services. So anytime you're looking at a specific product or service you want to create sales around, you want to ask, for this product or service, my audience, what are they struggling with right now? What do they believe they need? Because quite often, what they actually need can be very different from what they believe they need. But this is important to know. We have a product or service that we want to offer. So we have a supply. Yeah, so you do always get those random people who throw you through a complete loop and you're like, oh, which is why we always collect the data. Tina's had some very random people pop up in her business and she's like, okay, tattooed guy, wasn't expecting that. Sure. Being open, right? And this is why you never want to run with assumptions. And it's also one of the strengths we have as small businesses and independent businesses, our close proximity to our clients and customers means we're actually going to collect higher quality data. Where when you have really large organizations, there's so much separation between the decision makers and the clients and customers that the data is going to get corroded as it moves through those channels. They'll lose pieces, they'll lose insights. So it's one of the things we want to lean into really heavily. So we have a product or service, we have supply. We're like, I've got time and I've got products, someone needs to buy them. Essentially, in order to create sales, we need to generate or tap into demand, ideally at the same level, maybe even higher. When we are going through our audience fit and our audience insights, we're trying to find where the demand is. It doesn't mean we need to find who's looking specifically for what we offer. We want to find what do they believe they need that we know our product or service would be a good fit for. So, like for mine, for example, I get a lot of people just like, I don't know marketing. I just know I need marketing. Just in general, they want some support with marketing. I can, in my head, I know you need a marketing strategy, you need a marketing system, but that's not what they believe they need because they don't know what's in my brain yet, which is why they're looking to work with me. Same thing for any product or service. When we get a sense of what our audience, what our market is actively looking for, then we can find the fits and we can adjust things to fit into their need. With the examples, you'll be able to see it better. In the podcast, I use an example of sandwiches from the Bean There Cafe, where theoretically a sandwich it's just a product, it's a standard product that they have, but during the summer, their audience or their community is looking for things for a quick picnic because they want to go out on a picnic. They don't want to have to get all the groceries to make the sandwiches and pack the stuff. Some of them just want to grab it. So they package their sandwich, their product, as a grab and go picnic box. During the holiday season, they're now looking for something. What they need is a quick, easy platter for business parties or office parties. Now the sandwiches become laid out on a platter. It's the same product. It's just slightly reconfigured and packaged as a solution for that need. So this is why you want to understand the audience. It's not just about your product or service. It's about connecting it to the demand that's already there. Hardest thing to do with marketing is to generate demand. That requires a huge level of output in marketing. That's where all the influencers come from and all of that energy. Instead, what you want to do is find where is the demand in your market and how can you connect it to the supply that you have in a way that's very authentic and very aligned. And then just generally understanding what emotional seasonal state are they in. Anyone who does my content labs with me, the market brief I do at the beginning every month, that's me telling you where our market is emotionally, because especially social media, the stronger we are with connecting with the state people are in, the stronger our content produces, or the better our content performs, and the higher a chance we're going to be able to connect with our audience. Campaigns, even better, because you can run a longer campaign. You can connect where people are. Different industries will be in different emotional states, different logistical states, depending on where they are. And we're going to get into those in the examples. So the benefits ladder, this is one of my favorite marketing frameworks. There's not too many that I've pulled forward with me from my education. A lot of them are too big and too theoretical, but the benefits ladder, I go back to over and over and over again. And I think every single business owner should understand it because it works for your brand as a whole. And it works for every product or service you are wanting to sell. If you can just wrap your brain around this and always bring it to the table when you're doing your marketing, you will be light years ahead of where you were before. So the benefits ladder is a tool that translates your offer's features, the actual logical parts of it, the tangible specifics, into practical benefits and then into deeper value your customer truly cares about. That value is already there. That you are not trying to arbitrarily force value. You're trying to use the audience insights so that you can already see the value that people are experiencing, but you are going to outline it so that you make sure in your sales process, you are putting that front and center so that you are letting people know as they go through the process of becoming aware of you, aware of your product and service, considering if they want to purchase it, they are being exposed to the different levels of value and benefits that they're going to receive when they purchase it. The first level in the benefits ladder, the very bottom rung, is your features. Quite often, I find small business owners, we tend to focus on the features and we tend to promote the features before we do anything. So most often, I'd say 80% of the time, this is the only thing we promote. This is the, if I build it, they will come. And I've at least stretched out to tell them about what I built. I've told them the facts. It's what my product or service includes, and that's it. Now they're going to buy it. People are going to come through. It is the weakest level of the benefits ladder. Certain industries like anything that's manufacturing or tech, this highly matters because it's very logical. They're purchasing based on logistics. For our industries, it needs to be there. I'm going to talk about later how it's actually further down the sales campaign and the sales funnel. It definitely is an important piece, but we don't want to lead with it, which tends to be what we do. So features are just the plain facts. It's what your product or service includes. An example would be 3 one-on-one coaching sessions. So if I were to put out a post and say, hey, here's my coaching packages, you get 3 one-on-one coaching sessions. That would me trying to generate sales from a features level. Doesn't work. And you do not get traction with that. When we go up one more rung on the benefits, talking about the benefits the client gets once they're using the product or service. So it is what the features help the client or customer do, have, or become. These are the actual functional differences that they have because they have access to the features of your product or service. So an example would be for my 3 one-on-one packages, you get expert feedback on your strategy. That is what they not physically, that is what they actually get because of the one-on-one sessions. This is adding now in another level that will help to engage people more, but we don't want to stop here. We really want to make sure we move into the emotional benefits. So emotional benefits are in every single product or service. And from consumer psychology, people purchase emotionally. Even if you are B2B, B2O, it does not matter. There is an emotional element of every single purchase. In the more logistical fields, it's much less of a focus. In our type of industries, it's going to be a very prominent focus. So we want to have that outlined. We want to understand what is the emotional benefit that I am actually inviting people to invest into. We don't want to focus just on features and functions. We want to layer this throughout. So emotional benefits are what the customer feels as a result of the functional benefit. So because you're getting expert advice on your strategy, what does that feeling create? And it creates people feeling confident and in control. And I know this because this is reflected consistently in my testimonials. When I work with somebody, the dominant feeling for them is like, oh, I feel so much more confident with what I'm doing now. And I use that audience insight. I apply it to my messaging. I apply it to my sales campaigns. And the best way is just to use testimonials directly because it's social proof. But I know that because it is what my audience tells me the emotional benefit is. So when I put out something telling people, are you looking to feel more confident around your marketing? Are you ready for that? Then the people who are looking for that type of emotional benefit, I am signaled as a fit for them. There is lots of other type of marketing services you could lean into that would have a different kind of emotional benefit. I really like helping people learn how to market for themselves so it self-perpetuates and it actually increases their capacity as a business owner. But you could also go for someone who's just going to do the work for you, in which case confidence isn't going to be as big of an emotional benefit. Maybe something like feeling less overwhelmed, right? Like a stress reduction because someone else has taken it off your plate. And then that would be a better fit for somebody looking for that emotional benefit, even though we could both offer 60-minute one-on-one sessions, right? The outcome can be very different depending on the process, which is the bridge, which we're going to get into. So when we're looking at the benefits ladder, this is where I'm going to invert this. What your audience is doing when they first come across something about you and something about your product or service, if they're going to go through the sales process, they're asking themselves these questions, but they're actually asking them from the bottom up. They don't care what it is. If they don't know, there's no relevance to them. They do not care what it is you're selling. There's no reason for them to pay attention. That's the feature. The emotional benefit is where they start paying attention, which is why does that matter to me? So if I lead with feeling confident in your marketing or feeling confident in launching your new business, now suddenly that matters to people who are looking for that. So a little trick here is if you go from the bottom up, the bottom is what you want to have on your social and anything that's kind of public facing where people don't know you super well yet. That's actually what you want to focus on is the emotional benefit. And then once they feel like this resonates, this feels like it matters to somebody like me, it feels like it's something that I might want to know more about, then they move up to the functional benefit. So you've caught me. Yeah, I do want to feel more confident. So what's the functional benefit? What does it help me do? Okay, great. Feeling is awesome. I love to feel confident, but I'm not looking for Tony Robbins. How is this actually going to help me? What are you going to actually help me do? And then you talk about the functional benefit of it. Get expert advice on your marketing strategy. And then only later do they want to get into the features. Features are usually on your landing page or your final piece, a proposal if it's custom, which is give me the nitty gritty, lay this out logically, tell me what it includes, what is it? So you actually want to make sure you're going through it in the inverse, and we get right into that in the marketing in the campaign boot camp. But this is a little trick for you to recognize now. The benefits all matter in different ways at different stages. But you can see how if you're just focusing on the features and that's the only thing you're putting out there, people aren't going to be able to connect with it and it's not going to be as strong of a sales campaign or a sales system that you're building. Because what happens if they can't feel the outcome, they won't value it. You could be offering them the most perfect solution at an incredible price point where you are going to overfunction and overdeliver, and yet just because the marketing did not resonate with them enough and they didn't feel the outcome in it, they'll completely bypass it. They will completely ignore it, even though you were offering something above and beyond the price they were going to pay for it. This is why you want to approach it from a way where you package it up so that they can perceive the value. So our final one is framing. And framing is about the way you present your offer to highlight the results it creates, making it feel clear, desirable, and worth taking action on. People have a overwhelming amount of possibilities of where they can invest their time and money. And especially right now with a tightened economy, people are not investing willy-nilly. framing is really, really important. It's always important, but right now it's even more crucial. You want to really make sure you're not just presenting your bridge, which is your product or service. Although it's central to everything you do as a business owner, you are involved with choosing it, designing it, making it, creating it, operating around it, designing the structures and the systems to support it. It is everything to you. It matters very little to the client or customer. What they care about is when they purchase your product or service, they are going to experience some kind of transformation. Who they are, what they have, what they do before they purchase your product or service is different in some way than who they are, what they have, or what they do after they purchase your product or service. Your product or service is just the bridge that takes them there. And one of the most common mistakes we make is we are trying to sell just the bridge. Bridge is the feature. It does matter at different points, but we don't want to be selling just the bridge. We want to understand when people are going to invest, they're investing in that I want to use the word transformation, but not like everything is different in their life. It is logistically a actual transformation on some level that they're going to experience. Even if it's as simple as a sandwich, I always go back to sandwiches as my example. Before a sandwich, you're hungry, you need lunch, you need something quick. After a sandwich, you've grabbed something quick, you've eaten it, you feel full and satisfied and not grossed out because it wasn't greasy. So there is a transformation even in that. When we get into framing, like I've been saying, you're not selling the process. You as a business owner, you know that's what you're supplying. That is what you're giving. That is the transaction for you. The customer or client, that's not what they're buying. They are not buying the bridge specifically, they're buying the result. So therefore, you want to sell the result. If you feature the result in your sales campaigns and your marketing, you will have much more traction and much more ROI than if you're just focused on trying to sell the bridge. The bridge is about you. When I say 1 foot in your business and 1 foot in your market, this is what I mean. If you were just selling the bridge, both feet are in your market. You need to get into your audiences, or both feet are in your business. You need to get into your market and you need to understand what their buying behavior is being motivated from. And it is always, always the result. It can be a little tricky to really figure out the result. Like I said before, everything will develop the longer you're in business. If you're really savvy as a business owner, you pay attention to the data, you collect the feedback, you analyze it, and it will deepen your understanding. But in general, you want to look at things like the core result they want. People will often tell you, even if they're purchasing something for decor, they're not purchasing that specific decor item. They're purchasing a house that feels well decorated and reflects them and brings them joy. That's the result they're actually purchasing. The problem it solves, we're not always solving a problem. Sometimes we're helping people move towards a solution. Depends on if people are anchored in kind of like a scarcity mindset or an abundance mindset. But you want to understand that you're going to apply your product or service to either solving a problem in their life or moving them towards a solution that they value. And the emotional payoff it creates, very closely related to the benefits ladder. It will all intertwine, which is why it's all part of your packaging process in the sales cycle. So that's how we frame something. And now I'm going to go into quite a few examples because I know it really helps us to understand it. We're going to use our 3 businesses, my favorite businesses, which are based on my 3E models. For those who don't know, there are 3 dominant types of independent businesses: everyday, experience, and expertise. Everyday businesses are consumer staples. They sell things that people need regularly, usually a lower price point. Experience-based businesses are consumer discretionaries. They're selling things that are part of people's lifestyles. They create memories or emotions for them. And a expertise-based business is a professional service. They're selling their services or their support to achieve something people can't do on their own. So those are our 3 types of businesses. I have an example for each. We're going to walk through what it would be for them to package up a product or service that they want to create more sales of based on which kind of business they are. So our example for the everyday business is the Bean There Cafe. It is a frequent brand that shows up in my trainings. And the offer they land on is a morning muffin and coffee combo. Both products they carry all the time. They have created nothing new. They've just bundled it together, and you're going to see why, because they go through this process and this is the answer they come up to. So for them, for Audience Fit, they're located downtown, but they're close to a couple of residential neighborhoods with some schools. They have quite a few office buildings around them with insurance offices and stuff. So because they're an everyday business, their market is going to come from people who are close proximity physically to them. So their audience, their fit, when they're looking at moving into the fall, what do the audience need? What are people looking for? What problems are they looking to solve? They land on parents and professionals settling into a fall routine who need a quick, comforting start to the day. So they have an understanding of their audience, what they're looking for during this specific time period that they're going to run a campaign. When they look at the benefits ladder, their feature is a fresh baked muffin and a medium coffee bundled at a discount, 50-cent discount, not a huge one, just enough to make people like, ooh, I might as well get both at the same time. That's the feature of it. A lot of businesses would promote it just on the feature level. They'd just say, hey, muffin, save 50 cents when you buy a muffin and a medium coffee. And that would be their promo. We go deeper. We go into the functional benefit, a fast, satisfying morning ritual that saves time and money. So functionally being able to grab it and go when the mornings are busy, really, really nice. The emotional benefit is feeling grounded and taken care of even on hectic fall mornings. So knowing that there's a cafe that they can take a quick detour to, stop before they walk into the office, whatever it is, and then they can walk in and the staff is friendly and the muffins are ready to go and the coffee is fresh and they've specifically bundled this for people like me. There's such an emotional payoff to that. So when they look at it all together and they look at framing their offer to increase the sales of their medium coffees and muffins, it now becomes make your mornings easier. This fall combo gives you one less thing to think about. Warm, fresh, and ready when you are. This is so much stronger than saying save 50 cents on a medium coffee and muffin. This is where a campaign now resonates enough with people to have them remember and to have them come in. That's the difference between packaging versus not packaging. We're going to run through it for the other two examples as well. And then we'll have lots of time for questions. So the Zen Den is our experience-based business. It's a lifestyle-based kind of business. This one is a yoga studio. The offer they're going to land on is going to be a summer one, a 4-week summer reset series. Again, it's just yoga classes, something they're running all of the time anyways. They're not reinventing the wheel. They're packaging things up so that it suits their audience and it is framed for where they are. So their audience is mostly women, knowing because they've been in business a couple of years. They know where people are in the summer. They're feeling very drained. They're feeling kind of exhausted with all of the things going on and trying to pack everything into 8 weeks. And they're craving some kind of ability to not have to wait to September to recharge. They wish there was something they could tap into during the summer so they don't feel like they're just struggling to get through it. So when they run the benefits ladder, it's 4 themed classes and a guided journal. That's literally what they're buying or what they're selling. Again, they could just put that out on their social and say, hey, we have 4 classes and a guided journal. Why don't you come in? It's not going to resonate very strongly with the audience. But when we pull it through the rest, we start to see the impact of this. Functional benefits. It's going to help them reconnect to their breath and their rhythm. Functionally, the yoga classes, regular, and the guided journal, it's going to help them do that. Emotional benefit. They're going to feel grounded and centered and calm in the chaos of summer. And now when they translate that into their offer framing, which moves into promotion, we're going to talk about tomorrow. Now it becomes reset your nervous system. This 4-week series is your midsummer grounding, movement, breath, and space to just be. Whole different offer. You were selling something completely different with this than if you sell, hey, 4 classes and a guided journal. This is a whole different thing for people to invest in. I want a nervous system reset. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I wish there was somebody that offered this. I would totally take a summer nervous system reset. Okay, now let's move into Clearview Consulting. This is our expertise-based business, B2B. So when we talk about B2B, there's layers to it where The people in these businesses are still experiencing the seasonal pieces, but now that we want to focus a little more on the industrial cycles, the industry cycles that they're going through. So for our Clearview Consulting, she is a business consultant for optometrists, people who have optometry practices. And her offer that she falls on, that she wants to increase sales of, is really her 30-day consulting package, but she packages up as a fall operations tune-up. So instead of just saying, hey, I'm available for 30-day packages, she packages it up like this and puts it out to the market so that it will actually have a chance to increase sales. So her audience fit is based on industry. She knows that going into the fall, optometrists or practice managers are prepping for the end of year insurance rush. She knows this because her background is in optometry. She works with these people. She knows what they're experiencing during different parts of the year. So she can offer that 30-day consulting package in April as well. She just repackages it up in a different way. And that is how one of the struggles we come up with as businesses is that we were like, well, I could help everybody. Everybody could use this. This would be valuable, or it would be valuable to X, Y, Z, B, A, D. Like we have a huge list. In marketing, there's a saying, you can sell to anybody, you can only market to one person. And this is where, even though your product and service could be sold to multiple segments of your audience or market, you just keep packaging it up differently. You run a campaign for one audience segment so that you can get this level of depth of resonance. And you don't have to design a whole new product. You just repackage it so that you can help connect with people when they're in a different space or a different audience segment who's going to have different needs, different benefits ladder. Just wanted to throw that one in there. So for optometry consultants, when she runs it through the benefits ladder, the features is you get 2 consulting sessions and a customized fall operations checklist. That's what you get. This could easily be, when she runs it in April, it's 2 consulting sessions and another checklist for whatever focus she has. Same features, which makes it internally very easy to replicate. When she goes down to the functional benefits, functionally, them buying in during this time period where she's going to run a 4-week campaign or a 6-week campaign, it streamlines the fall scheduling. It helps to optimize staff workflows. That's going to be the functional benefits that they're going to get. The emotional benefits for the clients, they're going to feel calm, prepared, and ahead of the rush. No scrambling coming November, which you can add an extra layer here if she knows her market well, and she knows it tends to be families or people in the family life cycle stage. She'll know November and December, they're going to be crazy hectic trying to cram in all the holiday stuff as well. So layering business on top of that, there's going to be a real motivation to want to take care of business things before you end up in the busy consumer cycles. So when she puts this all together, instead of saying, hey, I have 30-day consultation packages open, would you like to have a one-on-one, a discovery call? Instead, it becomes a whole campaign around September sets the tone. The focus fall tune-up clears your backlog and sets your clinic up for a smooth, profitable season. This is a whole different level of value and so much more enticing to invest in, even though with integrity, you can see that she's not arbitrarily coming up with benefits. Cognitive work, which is what marketing is. This is why marketing even exists, so that we can marketers bridge the gap between the audience and the business. And the way we bridge the gap is to help them see the value and how it can help them where they are and help them move towards whatever solution is they're trying to move towards or reduce the problem that they're struggling with. That's the whole point of marketing. It's not just posting. It's not just promoting. It's not just blasting a message out there. It's blasting the right message out there, or subtly and quietly putting the right message out there, depending on your brand and your positioning and your business goals. So specifically today's P, packaging, it's all about if your audience doesn't understand the value, they don't move. We are not entitled to sales. We are not entitled to people purchasing from us. I did a tour with an economic development officer in a community nearby, and it was fascinating. We went to probably about 12 different businesses, and you could see so easily that some of them love being retail stores. They were set up for it. They had beautiful aesthetics in their space. They were leveraging social media. They were happy with how things were going. And other ones had no interest in being a retail store, even though they were kind of set up for it. They wanted to be a producer. So you want to understand, if you want to be the channel that people are purchasing from, you need to build the connection to the audience. If you don't want to, that's fine. Then you're a producer and you need to find another channel where people will source your product or service. For most of us, we will be both the producer, the creator of the product, and or the fulfiller of the service. And we're going to be the distribution channel, which means that we need to help our audience understand the value. We cannot expect them to move for us. That's not how business works. If we don't want to have that responsibility, we need to find somewhere else to distribute where they're willing to have that responsibility. It also means with packaging, we can match the mindset to the message. It's a really, really important piece right there. Our message in our communications and our marketing, we want to match the mindset of the people we want to connect with. That's where marketing gets its power. That's that, like, when you see something and like, ooh, that. If you ever like stop and watch yourself, you stop and you pay attention to products and services and businesses that match your own mindset. So that's what packaging allows us to do. When you pull it through that process, when you package it right, selling gets a lot easier. The ROI of the activity you're doing goes up. Conversations get a lot shorter, people convert quicker, and your audience says yes faster. So this is why packaging is super, super important. And this is our 3 Ps. So yesterday was prepare. Today we dived into packaging. And tomorrow we're going to go into promoting. And I hope what you can see is that if you don't start at promoting, which tends to be where we start, we're just like, I'm going to talk about it on Facebook. I'm going to put it out there. If we instead slow down and we go through the other stages, you can see why once we do get to promoting and putting it out there, it is so much stronger. It is a much higher quality message that we're putting out there, and we're able to come at it from a much more professional space so that we're actually acting as a marketer and the marketer that our business needs. So your homework, if you are going along with it, if you just want to watch the trainings, that is totally okay. In the companion GPT, there is a starting prompt for day 2. It will bring you through the process of finding some audience fit, creating the value, the benefits ladder, and then creating some framing for a product or service. You can bring it through there and then put it into your workbench, because those custom GPTs won't save your work, but you can, it's trained, I've designed it so that it will put it all out at the end, and you can put it into your workbench to save for whenever you want to move forward with it. So tomorrow we're going to round it up. We're going to talk about promoting. We're going to talk specifically about a campaign brief, which sounds a little like, it's just some structure, which helps when we run campaigns, knowing the process we want to go through and the pieces we want to account for. And then I'm going to talk a bit about asset planning. Like we mentioned yesterday, once you get to that build part, you can find you signed up to produce a lot more assets than you really want to produce. And there's some tips I can give that help to streamline that. And I'll also give you some advice for ones that are worth investing in professionally that you can get a lot of use out of. I do this with my clients where we build an asset bank so that we can reuse it over and over again. And I'm going to talk about using your data. So collecting metrics and what kind of metrics you want to be collecting, and then how you make some insights out of them. Because with most campaigns, most things are cyclical. Most of our seasons come back all over again, our holidays, our major events, our business, our industries, what they're doing comes back over and over again. So once you go through a campaign once, it's most likely the same time next year, that campaign can be rolled out again. So if we're collecting data while we run the campaign, the first stage for the next time is looking at that data and making data-informed adjustments, which is where really, really strong marketing comes from. And it's not about collecting a huge amount of data. We use the proximity we have to make sure we're just getting enough so that instead of running with assumptions, we're feeding back into our systems. That's all. Very manageable, very doable, built for the scale that we are operating at. Okay, I'm going to turn it off and I'm going to remove my spotlight And I am going to pause the recording, stop the